to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
G'day, folks. How are you? Doing all right? It's Friday. What a bloody day. Hope you're going all right. I'm getting some mad texts, which are coming from all over the world. One video I was going to play you, I'm now not allowed to play you. And one video that Tony has sent me with great news. It's interesting. They've registered a certain website in America at the moment, but that website hasn't got anything on it. I've just tried to look it up, so we'll see how it goes. So it's only just been registered, so we'll watch that one in the days and weeks ahead. How are you? Has your Friday been all right? Are you looking forward to the weekend? God bless and keep safe all those people in far north Queensland who have been impacted in some way, shape or form by Cyclone Narelle, which came across the coast earlier this morning. And it was north of Cooktown. I know we've got a lot of people up Cooktown Way that watch us, and certainly further north from there too. So looking forward to helping there if we can in any way, shape or form. Let us know. I know that a lot of the area where this thing went across is basically torn up bush, and it came across as a Category 5. So it was a big cyclone. It's probably done a huge amount of damage to very little property and certainly very few people, we hope, at the moment. So it will put a lot of water in the north, but the north is used to a lot of water. So God love them. We're going to roll our way through the show. I've only just had Vince pop in, so we'll get the waving wonder onto the screen because he's only just woken up. He probably doesn't want to be here for long. How are you?
Yeah, you're right. I literally that worn out and I've only just woken up.
You're a busy man, aren't you?
Debatable. Sometimes just dead asleep.
Well, that happens. Well, let's see if we can't spark you up a little bit with, some news of what's going on in the world. Would that excite you to pieces?
Well, yeah. Seeing I've been asleep all day, I have no idea.
Well, let me start you off with this. Fuel. That's what we're expecting to have, apparently. 10 to 18 days before we run completely dry. That in and of itself is a little bit disappointing. Oops, trying to get my screen up working. Albo has a plan, though. He's going to fix it. Because people have stopped buying electric cars. They're manufacturing the crisis with fuel. I don't know that they're manufacturing the crisis as such, but it does appear that some of the truths that we were told by Chris Bowen haven't been truthful, Vince. Would you be shocked and amused to find that at all?
No, not at all. We were talking about politicians here. I said that last night in my little roundup, they were busily saying that one nation had no policies. And I was just like reading them 5 minutes before that, thinking, you just lied to me, you bastards.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. They don't play the game at any rate. But I'm going to pull you out for a minute because we're going to talk about John Ruddock, who today, I'm pretty confident it was today, stood up. Now, John Ruddock is a Libertarian in the New South Wales Parliament, but he's given Chris Minns, the Premier down there, a new nickname, Ho Chi Minns. And it couldn't be a more apt name. Ho Chi Minns, the communist with the biggest ambitions in New South Wales. Get a listen to this.
Mr. President, the Libertarian Party is hostile to the Surveillance Devices Amendment Bill, but I will just start by saying that I am persuaded to some extent by what the Honourable Emma Hurst has just said, because I think there should be some type of a carve-out for animal cruelty because animals are voiceless. We cannot hear from them. And so if somebody can expose animal cruelty in this fashion, then that I'm open to considering that, so maybe there may be an amendment along those lines. But that one carve-out aside, this is a chilling bill. It seems like, Mr. President, every week when this Parliament sits, Premier Minns, Ho Chi Minns, comes up with a new idea, comes up with a new idea for Big Brother to get bigger. And there's all and now we're told what if this bill passes, I'll give an example. Let's say you're at a barbecue on a Sunday afternoon having a nice time, the 20 friends there, and someone just happens to mention, oh, look, my grandmother passed away, but I stole a gold bar and no one in the estate knows about it. Okay, now if that's then recorded, that can then be given to the law enforcement agencies. Now people might say, well, that sounds good, this guy's defrauded his estate. Okay, well, yeah, that's true. Okay, but what are the consequences? The consequences are that we're going to be living in like a East German style government. And at this rate with Ho Chi Minh's, if this parliament sits for about another 5 to 6 years, we will be East Germany, because every week something's coming in like this. Now, and in East Germany, Mr.
He's absolutely right. Absolutely 100% right. The surveillance state is only increasing. You can't go out and not be photographed by 100 cameras if you are in even a semi-regional area these days. I mean, you might be able to get away with it in a few of the smaller towns still, but even those smaller councils are instigating surveillance states right across the place. Maybe because they're too busy worried about people stealing petrol, because there is a little bit of that going on, but we're saved with the petrol strategy that this moron and Albo Sleazy have come up with. And that's a marvelous strategy. That's to put the woman who was in charge of climate change and distributing monies for climate change, making sure that climate change got funding and was propelled in all the right ways. They've put that woman in charge of keeping the fuel running around this country. One of the TV channels has come up with some tips, though, if you need to save on fuel. I think this is an American company because we don't call it gas. Check your tires, reduce your speed, avoid lots of starts and stops, get rid of the extra weight in your car, and don't go to war just because Israel tells you to. That seems like a pretty good sort of a plan. It's not just New South Wales who is overreaching. We know, of course, that the federal government overreached supremely in December of last year, instigating a whole new heap of rules. And then again in January, they reinforced a number of those, which have made life terribly hard for people. One particular group of people live in a house in Brisbane called the Doris Day House, and they are known for projecting their views out of the house, and recently they put up a sign. Now, I would love to be able to show you what the rest of that sign says, but because it has something to do from about an unsalted liquid place going to a very salty liquid place, I'm not allowed to show you all of that because of the laws. However, they did put that from the unsalted liquid place to the very salted liquid place on a sign, and then said, "Come and get us, Christofuli." Well, around 7:30 a.m. this morning, we were awoken to the sound of counter-terrorism squad at our peaceful community house. We were awoken to 7 or 8 police officers pounding on our bedroom doors, yelling at us to come out of our rooms. They rounded the 6 of us up that were home, including my heavily pregnant wife, into the lounge room while they forcibly searched the house and performed pat-down searches of our bodies. It took my phone, my laptop, and our dignity as we sat in our own home. There was confusion, there was fear, there was anger as the reality of the complete powerlessness set in. I would say Christofuli came and got him, wouldn't you? Come get us, Christofuli. Is there a better way to attract attention to your stupid self? I ask you. Now, I don't condone the fact that the coppers went and got him, but times are tough here at the moment, and if you just want to be one of those sacrificial lambs that walks onto the beaches and faces the machine guns first, then feel free. I mean, I guess that's why God invented the people who got the jab first. That's a bit sarcastic. Donald Trump today. I have to say that today was, without doubt, I would have to say, when it comes to Donald Trump, probably one of the more amazingly I was going to say stupid, but it's not. It's a stunning statement that Donald Trump came out with today. Now, he's been coming out with a few lately, and we'll talk about some of the ones in relation to Bibi Netanyahu, Israel, Iran, and certain bombing missions in the not-too-distant future. But today, the president was trying to garner some support from Japan. Now, he's trying to get a whole heap of nations, including Australia and a couple of others, together, France, Germany, people with some ships, to come in and act as protection for all these big super crude carriers that are too scared or have been told, they're not too scared, they've been told by their insurance company, Lloyd's of London, that they can't go in there anymore. They're not insured. Now, that's in spite of Trump saying, we will insure you, that's the American government, we will insure you, and we will provide support with warships. Except there are no warships close to any ships in that part of the Gulf, particularly the Straits of Hormuz, at the moment. The only American ships that were close with an aircraft carrier group, the USS Abraham Lincoln, and it's been moved well out off the coast, well away from the land. I mean, the planes can still get there okay and hit things, but the boat is a very, very long way away, and you don't actually send aircraft carriers into places like that, or submarines, or may I suggest frigates and associated other bits. It gets a little bit difficult. So that's where you go and call on some allies, some trade partners that you've got really good relationships with. And, of course, some of those trade partnerships have not been as, what would you call it, have not been as successful, I guess, as one might have hoped. Donald Trump in particular has put sanctions on just about every company or country he's now, there is a company in every country, he's relied on to ask for a bit of help, which he doesn't need, of course. We pointed that out the other day. But then the Prime Minister of Japan turned up, and boy, what a way to start off a conversation, I got to say. It will play. Yeah. I mean, that's, I got to say, I'm a little shocked. A little shocked. He's sitting there in one of the rooms of the White House with the Japanese Prime Minister sitting there and says, oh, well, was asked the question, why didn't you alert your allies, your friends, your trading partners to the fact that you were starting this shooting match with Iran? And Donald Trump's reply was, well, you didn't warn us about Pearl Harbor, did you? First of all, probably not the best way to approach the subject. Second of all, the Americans were well aware of the attack coming to Pearl Harbor before it got to Pearl Harbor. In fact, there may well be, and it's suggested that there is, evidence around to suggest that it wasn't even the Japanese that attacked Pearl Harbor, but it was Americans attacking Pearl Harbor. Yes, in some zeros, but not necessarily all zeros, just enough to get seen. Some of these captured zeros could have been worked like that quite well. I don't know how many Americans they convinced to crash into certain bits and pieces there, but we shall wait and see. At any rate, weirder and weirder and weirder things. And for Trump to come out and say something like that in a meeting, okay, it's a publicity, it's a PR thing. Anything meaningful is going to be said behind closed doors. But to come out and say, well, you didn't warn us you were going to bomb Pearl Harbor is not both insulting, but also factually incorrect. I just want to point that out. He isn't too factually incorrect about things going on with Israel. He has sent a very stern message out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East. Israel violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars, the gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. That means they haven't done all the damage they could have. They've just done enough for the moment. The United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Paris attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's liquid natural gas facility. No more attacks will be made by Israel, in capital letters, pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Paris field, unless Iran unwisely decides to attack, pardon me, a very innocent, in this case, Qatar, in which instance the United States of America will, without help or consent of Israel, take out its big penis and swing it around. Will massively blow up the entirety of the South Paris gas field in an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. I think I was right the first time. I do not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications that will have on the future of Iran. But Qatar's liquid natural gas is, again, if it is again attacked, he will not hesitate to do so. That sounds like their fighting words, wouldn't you think? He's put it up to Bibi. He said, "What the bloody hell are you doing blowing up that sort of stuff?" And Bibi replied, "Well, it seems that the war goals of Israel and the US are not completely aligned. For instance, Israel has 3 goals and the US have 4. The US aims to stop Iran's possessing a nuclear weapon, destroying its navy, its missile launchers, and its defense industrial base, meaning the ability to make missiles. Israel concurs on stopping Iran from having nuclear weapons, but it wants to destroy its ballistic missile threat and help Iranians grasp their freedom." Geez, I don't know that could be any more frightening coming out of the Israelis. The final Israeli aim is seemingly not shared by the US. Netanyahu also conceded that it may not meet all of its aims. That's Israel. "We're working to create the conditions for it to collapse, but it may survive or it may not." What a wonderful bloke. Truly, truly wonderful bloke. He denied that he misled Donald Trump, though. No, we didn't mislead anybody. We just didn't tell them what we were going to hit. So he misled no one. Does anyone really think that someone can tell the president what to do? Come on. But apparently the president can tell Bibi what to do, and Bibi listens. Do we really think that Bibi's listening? I've got some doubts about Bibi listening, because there are some fairly shocking images floating around the interwebs at the moment that sort of indicate Bibi might be dead. Now, this is to do with Yah, his son, who normally posts 24/7, but he's taken an exact 7-day break from X, from the 8th of March to the 15th of March. That lines up precisely with the Jewish Shiva, or the mourning period. President Trump looked visibly shaken on the 8th of March when he was told news of something. Now they are striking oil fields and hitting civilian infrastructure in response. They wouldn't do that unless something serious had happened, like a major assassination. That also lines up with the strange military council absences and event cancellations. Every video you are seeing of him since the 8th of March is being AI assisted. And we looked at those the other night and thought there is a semi-possibility that there might be some chance of that. I think there is probably a large chance that we're seeing a lot of AI when it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu. There are also suggestions right now that this place, which is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, has been closed. Now, ordinarily, you wouldn't think that would be such a big thing. But apparently it's the first time in all of history that the Church of the Holy Sepulchre has been closed. I don't know anybody in that region at the moment who is able to go and knock on doors and see whether or not this is the case, but I think it is a very interesting case if that bears out to be true and correct. Now, because of what's going on in the Middle East, and particularly with what's going on in Qatar, Australians have the opportunity once again, one would hope, to come into potentially making a little bit of money. This is just one picture of a small, very, 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 very small area of the liquid natural gas production areas in Qatar. Now, the area that is used here covers hundreds and hundreds of acres, and they produce everything from bunker crude, which goes into ships, all the way through to the petrols and light oils that you get in sewing machines. You don't get too many petrol-driven sewing machines, I agree, but petrol engines, diesel motors, and everything in between. So they produce everything. And particularly when it comes to liquid natural gas, they have huge reserves in Qatar, and they sell them for multiple hundreds of billions of dollars every year. And funnily enough, they reap the benefit of those riches, because that's really all you could call it, that stuff that comes out of the ground if you give it a hole to, and if you can capture it and give it to somebody else, they pay a lot of money for it. You know, that happens in Australia, but we don't tax them. We don't put a price on it because it's an Australian resource that Australians should be benefiting from, or no. No, we use it as a bargaining chip. We'll give it away, provided you come and do something else for us here, there, or somewhere else. Yes, probably to do with a fuel company, probably to do with drilling in areas where maybe they should or they shouldn't. Now, I'm not an anti-driller. I think that it's quite good that we have exploration. If we don't do it, somebody else will. And the sooner we get rid of the green morons that are associated with government in this country, and some of the most ridiculous laws that now essentially make looking for anything that could help the Australian economy on a real country nation building scale cannot be accessed, cannot even be discovered, cannot be looked for. And then God presents us with an opportunity like a ballistic missile into the Qatarian liquid natural gas production facility. Who could fill the hole that Europe and the rest of the world are now going to experience with a lack of millions and millions and millions of tons of LNG now unavailable coming out of Qatar? Just, I don't know, who do you think? Because apparently, because we give it away for free and you get to pay zero or next to zero tax on it, we pay more beer tax every year. We pay more tax in beer or for beer than we get out of our LNG exports. It's just disgusting every year. I think that's a great deal. Well, Labor certainly think that's a great deal, but then again, Labor thinks a great deal has usually been a successful negotiation when someone's made a secret video of the boys all circle jerking and around a union meeting and discovering who's going to get first go at the new apprentice, and then groom them to become a politician who will do their bidding at a moment's notice, lest that video get released in years to come. Except if you're Craig Thompson, of course. If you like him, you're probably better off with the shooters party. At least you might find someone there who's willing and able to shoot some common decency into you. But, I don't know. Labor isn't known for finding people like that. I don't think so, Tim. Speaking of weird things that happened in America, this is the resignation letter from Joe Kent. If you haven't already done so, can I recommend that you go and have a look at Tucker Carlson's interview with him? It is available on Rumble. I think you don't have to pay for it on Rumble, and you don't have to go to the Tucker Carlson channel. That resignation, I think, has been pretty covered. What was he? Well, he was the Director of National Intelligence Counterterrorism. That meant, and he's a very, very experienced counterterrorism operator, having come from on the ground, brought up through the military, and then became part of the intelligence apparatus, and then rose to what is a very significant position. and that is the Director of National Counterintelligence or Counterterrorism Intelligence. And he quit. Now, you might be thinking that he quit because Trump was doing this all wrong and he didn't agree and all that. Not the case. In this interview with Tucker Carlson, he very firmly states that there was no evidence for America to justify America taking action against Iran. There was no justifiable intelligence that said Iran had a nuclear weapon, were close to making a nuclear weapon, or were in fact about to launch that nuclear weapon within a week, which was the threats coming from Israeli intelligence. There was absolutely no idea of that inside the American defense system, intelligence system in any way, shape, or form. And because this particular bloke, Joe Kent, knows Iranian counterterrorism operations like the back of his hand, he's been fighting Iranian terrorists and their proxies for his entire career. He was in the military from just before 9/11 and obviously went very well from that point on. He's climbed the ranks significantly. He's a young man. But if you go and have a listen to the Tucker Carlson interview, I think you will get a lot out of it. There is a lot of background that's been explained. And the fact of the matter is, Israel were going to start this war regardless. And they were going to start it that week, whether America were involved or not. Now, you know, Bibi, wonderful bloke that he is, six-fingered fucker, has been relentless in his turning up at the White House and banging on the door, trying to whisper in Trump's ear, the Iranians are coming with a bomb or the capability to build a bomb. Or if they don't have the capability now, and this is what this intelligence guy, Joe Kent, elaborates on in great detail with Tucker Carlson, is how these whispers, these manipulative stories get into the American defense and intelligence sector, how players within those sectors, including those closest to the president, will keep those rumors and that advice away from the president at all costs, because everything is so compartmentalized, they are able to do that. And so it has now become very clear. This fella has no reason to lie, and I'm sure there is a lot of evidence to back it up. In fact, the only reason he can probably come out and say this is because he has resigned. This is part of the plan. So he's come out and told us exactly that Israel were going to start this war regardless. The consequences of Israel firing and going off and firing on Iran straight away would have been exactly pretty much what we saw in the retaliatory strikes out of Iran first up. They would have attacked not Israel. They would have attacked American bases all around the area as they did. There would have been a lot more casualties. There would have been a lot more casualties on the American side. But the Americans wouldn't have fired a rocket, wouldn't have fired a missile, wouldn't have fired a pistol at that point. It would have all been Israel. But the Americans and the Israelis knew this, right? And they use it as a wedge. And this is what this intelligence officer says. The guy who is the highest guy in the pack when it comes to counterintelligence terrorism, or counterterrorism intelligence, I'll get that right. Highest in the pack. That's what he comes out with. You got to believe there is elements of truth in all of that. That means that Israel knows how to manipulate the US. The US were forced into this because a preemptive strike was the only way of saving the bases, the people, and it's cost them billions. I noticed that there's been a call by way of what we will accept from Iran by way of a curfew, or not a curfew, but a surrender, if you like, and that is that you must pay reparations. I wonder if the Americans will say, right, well, you owe us about $6 billion for the 2-3 radar systems you've destroyed, and we'll start with that, shall we? So they'll rebuild their own radar systems before they rebuild anything in Iran. However, there will be a lot of people who come into Iran and help it rebuild because genuinely the world wants to see it succeed. The only people, it seems, that don't are the Zionist government running Israel. And that government is not letting any news at all about Israelis get out of Israel. What is happening across the whole country? We are seeing very curated vision that is allowed out. There are severe punishments for military and civilians who film stuff on their mobile phone and share it outside of the country. I think they're allowed to share it inside the country with friends and family, but they're not allowed to share it outside the country. That means no Facebooks or anything like that are being used, I think, at the moment. And if you do post anything up, it's being curated by them to make sure that it doesn't get out. Google, if you ask Google to show you images of what's going on in Tel Aviv or Tehran right now, it'll show you variously some missiles, pictures of missiles, the odd explosion, some sunny outlooks over the sand dunes and that kind of thing. Nice look at the blue water. They're not telling you the truth of what's going on at the moment. So weirder, and absolutely weirder. Now, speaking of bloody weird, Anthony Albanese got hammered today. And when I say hammered, he was hammered at a mosque, but he wasn't hammered like a lost goat found by a lonely shepherd on a dark mountain at night. Nothing like that. He was just hammered as a genocidal maniac, which may or may not be reasonably accurate.
Genocide supporters, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Genocide supporters, what is he in here? Get him out of here. We as Australian Muslims, get him out of here. He's the best of brothers.
Now, while I understand they're upset and they're angry, and I would be too, he's Anthony Albanese, but we're probably upset and angry for very different reasons. I wonder if those men, those emotional, immature men, understand what damage or how embarrassing it is for them to be seen showing their complete lack of ability to control their emotions in what could be reasonably expected to be called a formal setting. Now, I guess this is why we have places like and agencies like ASIO. But I don't know. They're not helping themselves. That bloke at the end there, being held back. One other fella being, tackled to the ground. These are the sorts of pictures that the media loves to get of you because they can say, oh, look at this, extremist. And apparently, the bloke standing up there with the camera and all that, he's a member of Allah Wizbar, Fuba, has butt up your ear or whatever it is. And, okay, well and good. He may well be. He was in control of his emotions. He was getting a steady camera shot. He was throwing his abuse clearly and getting a good camera shot. He's got his selfie. That's real good. But the other few gentlemen who were unable to control their emotions blew any possible good this little meeting of elbows could do. Certainly with the Australian people. I mean, I've got to be honest, I'm not completely sure that I can understand why this would impress anybody outside of the very tiny group it's targeting. Now, I've got to say, I think it's kind of funny, given the location of it all and the people that are calling him genocidal and carrying on. It's all happening at a time when the cameras are around and Albo's sitting there doing exactly what he does best, representing Australia, sitting on his ass, looking around and looking absolutely shit scared. Because that's about what he does every day with us when he's confronted by the people. So I'm glad to see that it has the same effect on him over there. Couple of little short things before we go tonight. Denver Airport, if you were planning on going there, they might have the power back on by now, but for a long time they didn't. Trains were shut down and nobody was getting in or out of the terminal. Apparently this is not unusual. You might remember Denver Airport is renowned for having a huge dumb underneath it that goes many levels, and it is also known as probably the most satanic art-filled airport in the world. Some of the shit they've got there is just got to be seen to be hated. However, there are other alternatives, and this came out of Telegram today. Listen, if you told me that the military teams from NORAD's Cheyenne Mountain Complex, 20 miles south of the airport, initiated electromagnetic pulse disruptions masked as power grid failures to seal access tunnels and prevent asset exfiltration amid Trump's escalating global purges, I wouldn't dismiss it at all. Why? Because this ties directly into the Venezuela raid, where the outage halted inbound flights carrying deep state operatives fleeing Cuba's unrest, where similar earthquakes on March 17 masked US preemptive strikes on Havana's underground networks. I read another comment on Discord from another person who mentioned that military units from nearby Buckley Base, that's a Space Force base in Aurora, Colorado, indicated a lockdown of subterranean access points, or initiated rather, at 9:45 a.m., coordinated with a FEMA Region 8 personnel to mask the operation as a routine grid test failure. Not sure how accurate it is, but there's a lot of chatter going on. A lot of chatter is about what all it is. Nobody will ever be able to prove this, I don't think, until the movie is allowed to be played out on our screens in front of us, because at the moment we're still living it. We haven't even reached the edit stage yet. It's still being written, but I do believe that in the near future things will improve somewhat, unless you're looking to eat, of course. Eating's not going to be good. This is something you need to avoid. If you haven't already been aware of what the A-peel sticker is, please do not buy fruit that has this on it. Go drive 100 kilometers to get better fruit and veg. This is a Bill Gates company, and it uses a whole heap of poisons to protect the fruit and make it able to live in cold storage a lot longer. If you get an A-peel covered anything, it needs to be washed very well. I think A-peel is also being used on grapes, but I'm not completely sure. But if you're a grape lover, that is about the last thing that you want to have. God, I remember going into shops when I was a kid, grocery shops, and I guess it's theft, but you'd walk past, you'd pick a couple of grapes off of the thing and pop in your mouth and keep walking, doing the shopping behind Mum. She'd wind up buying a whole thing of grapes on the way out anyway, so I'm sure they made their money out of it. But you couldn't do that these days because you got to wash everything before it comes out. I mean, very freaking ugly. So be careful going to the supermarkets. Check what you're buying when it comes to fruit and veg and make sure that it doesn't have that A-peel label on it. You might get really lucky and be in Darwin where you don't have to worry at all. There's nothing on the shelves. I'm not laughing. This is a couple of days old. I'm gathering they may have been restocked, at least partially by now, but that's coming. Forget the toilet paper. Everything else. Milk is going to probably have issues unless primary producers, particularly the dairy variety, are given priority to keep milking their cows, and the trucks are given priority to arrive at those farms, collect all that milk, take it to whichever place it gets processed, put into the carton that you would expect to be able to tip into your morning coffee or over your Wheaties. That's the first thing you're going to notice. Milk supply is running low because there isn't enough fuel to get all the trucks on the road to visit all the farmers. Now, the farmers, these dairy farmers, can probably store their milk for a few days and add to it. I don't think it's something that they like to do. I'm not a dairy farmer, but I'm pretty confident it's not something they like to do over the weekends, Saturday, Sunday. You know, usually I think there is a truck comes out Saturday, Sundays and empties as well. But they go into big refrigerated vats on farm, so I'm pretty sure that they could hold maybe 2-3 days worth if they had to, depending on the size of the herd you're milking. But you've still got to have a truck there to pick it up. Farmers don't own the trucks. The milk companies own the trucks, or these days they own a contractor who owns a truck, and they beat the living crap out of them on price to go and do it for as little as possible so that the company makes as much money as possible, not the farmer, not the truck driver, but the bloody company. Absolutely disgusting. However, I'm sure our climate change and energy minister, who has rushed to the Northern Territory to offer his help, is going to be of great assistance to everybody, particularly the bunch of guys who live out near Humpty Doo and are responsible for a great deal of our pumpkin and other melon-type production. Bowen's on his way. There's no fuel for the tractor, so they've put him to work on a plough, which is very decent. The other interesting news, which I guess sort of falls in line with One Nation, is an accusation that's been put forward by Pauline Hanson against Senator Payman. Now, Pauline has demanded that Fatima Payman return $75 million she is alleging came from insider trading and corrupt family investments. Hanson claims that Payman used inside information for personal profit, gave her 7 days to respond, warning that she would refer the case for investigation. The explosive allegation has gone viral, sparking intense backlash and debate online. And Senator Payman is probably not talking a lot at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how that pays out. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. How that plays out. And $75 million. See, politicians are privy to a lot of very sensitive information that, if they were able to fling a few bucks into a certain share bucket at a certain time, they might find an announcement a month or 2 or 6 down the track sends that $2 share or 2-cent share up to $2 or to $200. And they make an awful lot of money out of it. They can just sit the money there until they get out, or they can trade those shares, wash it away in the paper system. That's how you go into politics, broke ass and buried, and come out with $1 million or a multi-million-dollar house and property you live on, the best cars, and a pension for the rest of your life. Utter bastards. That's all I have to say. But the bastards are going to get their asses, one would hope, handed to them tomorrow. And South Australia will be the beginning, one hopes, of this tsunami of support for One Nation that's going to wash across the country. This is the lower house, or the House of Assembly voting card. Oh, House of Assembly, that's the upper house. I think I've buggered that up too. We might have to get Vince on to help me explain this. This is the House of Assembly, lower or upper?
It's the House Assembly, lower house.
Lower house, right. Okay. So this is the way you should vote or can vote in the lower house. Vote 1. If you're going to vote for One Nation, that's great, like this one. And you don't have to fill in any other box.
No, incorrect.
Right. Okay. Glad that went
right. There is a provision in the South Australian Electoral Act. It's only in Australia, South Australia only. But if you only do a one here, effectively, they will then follow how the parties, how to vote card or submitted how to vote card with
But if
the
what
government.
I just said
Don't want
is
to confuse
you
you.
leave one
Best
vote.
bet, you vote, you all vote, you put in numbers in every other box.
Right.
So if you put in number 1 in Roy Lance, make sure you preference every other box. That is your best bet, because that's the way you guarantee your vote heads where you want it to go. And if you only half fill them, then whatever the AEC does, it does. I don't know. It's bullshit, but let's not give them a choice. Number every box.
And what about the upper house? Now, this is where One Nation expects to make a big difference. Malinowskis is expected to take as many as 40, maybe more seats. The Liberals may not get one, although the Liberal leader there looks like she's fairly strong in her seat. She might be the only Liberal representative. The tsunami of support for the House of Assembly, that lower house, which has a number, One Nation people running in every one of those seats, aren't they?
Yeah, 47 seats. Yeah.
Yeah. So wouldn't it be amazing to see, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 20 of them elected?
I'm going to make a bit of a prediction here. All right. I believe they're probably going to pull 3 of the upper house, the House of Legislative. That's the white paper. I reckon.
Yeah, so that'd be Corey Bernardi.
Yep.
That's Corey Bernardi, who's leading.
Carlos and Rebecca.
Right. Yep.
All right. And I'm hoping, or I reckon they'll get 4 to 5 in the lower house, in the House of Assembly.
And who, well, if they got 4 to 5 and Labor gets 45, there's, let's call it 50 votes counted. How many are left?
No, it's only 47 seats available. So if they get 4 to 5, an independent gets 1 or whatever, Labor's going to probably pull about 40. You might get 1
so it's
or
not beyond
2.
the realms of possibility that One Nation could be the effective opposition.
Yeah, it is feasible. Yes.
Well, what do you think that's going to do for the rest of the nation watching this?
Wake up call. It's the wake up call. It's
to support them, or to say, holy shit, they're coming.
Well, a bit of both. Uniparty is no longer going to be a uni party. Well, it can still stay a uni party. It's just going to have effective opposition. I think enough Australians have woken up. They're seeing this. As I said, at the moment, I feel like we've got something that was like happening 5 years ago, but this time they're using a petrol crisis. Right,
yeah, so we're not going to be locked down formally. We're just going to be locked down physically. Yeah. You'll be able to do a lot of walking though. You don't suppose they're going to put a 5 kilometre ban on us from home. Yeah, it's not so flash for you. Well, that's actually the other thing. There are certain people who have medical concerns whereby access to a vehicle to get to a hospital would be essential.
Yeah. I mean,
so
how many farmers have been saved because they've had an accident? Their partners jumped in the vehicle, got them in the car, and headed to the ambulance, because by the time the ambulance gets out to the farm, finds it, and gets back, a whole heap more time has happened.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Absolutely.
So anyway, sorry. Above the house, the white paper, the number 1 in any box above the line is enough. Apparently they accept that here in South Australia. Suggestion is up to 6. If you're going to vote below that line, you must fill out all 12 boxes, just for people to know in the Senate.
Right.
So 1, and then you can just let your vote expire above the line, or all 12 boxes below the line. Minimum of 12. You must do 12.
Now, I know Paul Murray is going to Adelaide along with the rest of the Sky News team to cover this very important election. I imagine that you'll be setting up doing a live tally room count on FBN as well, will you?
No. Family matters have gone crazy. I've got to take a kid to Adelaide tonight. I've got to go and do my promise stand at the election place here in Mannum tomorrow. I'm not saying with who, trying to be bipartisan here, but I think you probably all know. And then straight after that finishes at 6 o'clock, I've got to go back to Adelaide to pick up a kid. So
Right.
no.
You're going to be standing all day?
No, I'm going to be smart. I'm going to take a seat.
And an umbrella and an esky.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Have yourself a bloody good weekend, brother. Love
Catch
your
you
work.
later.
The Waving Wonder does his thing. And you too, folks. I trust that you go off and have yourself a wonderful weekend. I will leave you with a little bit of news, which I found not at all surprising. Just, well, I guess I was a tad surprised that she came out and told the world about it. But the head of the Reserve Bank was fronting the media the other day and eventually wound up explaining why it was easier for her to go through life as a woman. And I guess we all understand that, don't we? Just saying, you know. Have a great weekend. Don't do anything I would. Do a lot of things I wouldn't. If you're in South Australia, ride the tsunami if you feel the urge. If you're a non-voter of normally, and you do actually get registered this time around, and you want to go and kick the uni party fair in the Kahoolies, then go ahead and do it. That's the best place to do it. South Australia tomorrow, and in a couple of more weeks' time, the people of Farah will be able to place a well-timed kick to the nuts to the uni party once again. And I hope that in a couple of years' time, we will see exactly the same to the federal turds. Fingers crossed. And then after that, then we'll see what's going to happen, what changes and what doesn't. That'll be the difference. Regardless of who's in power, then there will still be dickheads on the road.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!